with our morning Bible topics. We're in 1 Peter. We're in the very last chapter, really pretty much going to get to the end of this book. Hopefully you've learned a lot along the way. We're going from chapter 5, verse 5. Easy to remember. 5:5. And if I got your interest, I put on the board, how would you like to have worry-free living? Worry-free living. Don't need to worry about a thing. Is that even possible? What is he saying to us? Am I promising you that? Well, I don't know. Is that what Peter's telling us? I don't know. Let's find out. Worry-free. Now, I didn't say problem-free, did I? Did I say trial-free? I said worry-free. So, have I perfected this? No, I have not. But do I know what it's telling me? Yes, I do. Can I apply it? Yes, I can. And if I can, we can have worry-free living. But let's see how that happens. That's what he's going to address right now. All right, so we were in verse 5 of chapter 5 in 1 Peter. 5:5. Young one. Actually, it says young men, but that word is not male. It's basically young ones. It's talking to the young of the congregation. Remember, we had gone over the elders, and we had talked about the elders and the role of elders and what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. They're not supposed to be doing, they're not trying to do it to lord over the church. But there's a reason that they needed these elders, and we need that organization because the church is coming under persecution in 1 Peter 5. So he tells the young men and the young ones of the congregation, 1 Peter 5, verse 5, in the same way, you should be submissive. As the elders are submissive to Christ, we, the young, should be submissive to those who are older. Now, does that mean the elders in the church? Well, yeah. It literally means the old ones. It means the younger ones should be submissive to those who are older in the congregation. Hopefully because they have wisdom and they have knowledge, as we spoke about today. So the young ones in the same way should be submissive to those who are older. Do what you want with it. That's what it's telling us. Remember, he's trying to create unity in church. He's not trying to get the young ones against the old ones against the female against the male. Remember, we went all through this in 1 Peter when he says, husbands, be submissive to wives submissive to husbands. Husbands, you need to be considerate to your wives. All of us should live in harmony. Remember, this is what that whole point is about. But today we're going to learn how to live a worry-free life. At least that's what it's promising us, so let's go get there. Do you have different clothes for different occasions? Okay, you came to church today, and you got in your church clothes probably, I guess. I don't know. Then you go to work, and you put on your work clothes. But that's not what, you don't stay in those clothes. You probably come home and change into your lounging around clothes. Or whatever. Okay, so we have different clothes, and we know what their purpose is for different occasions. But he's going to tell us what we need to put on our clothes. We need to put on something. Does anyone see what it says in verse 5? What kind of clothes should we wear? Yeah, humble. So he's talking about like putting it on a garment. We have put on Christ. Does not the Bible say we put on Christ? When you were baptized into Christ, you were clothed with Christ. It's a putting on. It's a garment. But he says we should live, as Christians, we should wear a cloak of humility. Not easy to do, is it? To humble yourselves. But he's saying, understand, you're going to lower yourself. God is going to lift you up. So the process is you allow yourself to be humble. Submit to those you need to submit to. God will lift you up. Yes?
But it must specifically support one another.
So who are we being humble toward? One another. The church. Does it mean we can't be humble outside the church, dude? No. Again, humility, as Jesus said, the poor in spirit, what? Inherit the earth. But poor in spirit doesn't mean, you're a doormat, you have nothing to say, no matter what, it's okay. No. Paul had a voice. Paul objected to things. Paul lived a life that rubbed people the wrong way, and truth sometimes hurt. So it's not as if we can't speak and live truth, but we want to do it with humility. I think Julie brought out the point that we need to live our lives, but we don't need to do it angrily. Even if we're making the point of truth, we do it with humility. We do it with patience. It goes back to chapter 4 when it says that we should always be prepared to give an answer, to give the reason for the hope that we have, but we should do it with gentleness and respect. So that's the attitude. Humility towards one another for God. There's a purpose for us not to be prideful people, because the opposite of humility is pride, because God will oppose the proud. But he gives grace to the humble. So, has God ever opposed you? Maybe he has. Maybe he has in your life. If we're living a prideful life, maybe God puts his hand up against us for a purpose, to try to humble us so that we might rely on him and not necessarily on us. We can become very proud. We can become very self-sufficient. But the key that Peter is saying is humility will allow you to put yourself under. The word proskinusko just means under. It means to put yourself under. It was a military term. So if you have ranks in the military, you would, whatever rank you are, you took your position. Everybody has a head, who has a head, who has a boss, and ultimately God is the authority over all. So anyway, humility towards one another. God opposes the proud. Don't take that lightly. God gives grace to the humble. And he says, verse 6, let's quickly go. So number one, God opposes the proud. That tells me that God is aware of my daily life. Because how would he know? How would he know who to oppose and who to give grace to if he's not watching us? God is watching us. God is with us. God knows our every minute of every day. Like I say, that can be a great thing or it could be a scary thing. God opposes the proud. Humble yourselves before God humbles you, right? That's the next verse, verse 6. Humble, do it yourself. Humble yourself. Put yourself under. Therefore, God's mighty hand. Now, why should I humble myself? Though that word humble comes from two words as well. It means low and it means mind. It comes from two Greek words. Humility, humble. That word means to have a mind that sees itself where it needs to be. It doesn't raise itself up above where it is. You know your responsibilities. You know where you are. You're not supposed to lord it over, just like the elders. You're not there to lord it over people. You're there to serve and to be an example. All right. So we talked about being free from anxiety, right? Humble yourselves, verse 6 and verse 7. Now watch the progression. Step 1, humble yourselves under, now who do we humble ourselves under, Judy? God's mighty hand. And he has a mighty hand. We talked about that a little bit today. We humble ourselves under God's mighty hand that something might happen. What does the verse say might happen?
Lift us up.
And who's doing it? God. God may lift you up in due time. So we need to become low so God can lift us up. If we're lifted up, God can only push us down, right? So he's saying humility in our lives. Why? So he might lift you up. And then it tells you we should cast all of our anxiety on him because he cares for you. The reason we can be humble under God is not just because he's mighty and all-knowing and all-powerful, but you have to know, and I really want you to hear this, God cares for you as an individual. You. He cares for you, wants the best for you. And if you can get up every morning knowing that he cares for me, you can trust him and put yourself under a God who has a mighty hand to trust you, right? Trust. Questions. How does humility allow us, how does humility free us from worry? Or does it? Can humility free you from worry? Because I put up here, living a worry-free life, and yet we saw the first thing is humility under God's mighty hand. Can humility free you, or does it trap you? Or how does humility make me free?
Well, in AA, they have, people, look to their higher power, or to God.
Okay.
Because through God, they can actually find a way, find hope, and find a way to be relieved of this addiction. Because
Okay.
they can't do it themselves.
So they're
It's
carrying something, they're saying,
It's an understanding
Okay.
that what you have, your anxieties, your fears, your cares, your own sin,
okay,
you need help to be relieved of it, and you can't do it yourself. We tend to walk around our lives saying we're in control of ourselves, we can handle it, we can cure ourselves. But in reality, we cannot. We must humble ourselves before the person who can help us.
right, and in that case, if you're in a program, you're doing it with a coach or a mentor or a peer, but right, ultimately, we're doing it, we're humbling ourselves under God, and who better to humble ourselves under, who has the wisdom and knowledge and the power to know and to help. But you're right, first part is recognizing you have, didn't I say that today? You have a bottom, and we've reached bottom sometimes. And thank the Lord that we've come up from the bottom, but we do have a bottom. We're limited in our resources and our strength and our wisdom. We only have so much we can give, and sometimes that gets drained. And yeah, and it can change your whole attitude. You can go deeper. I don't know. When you hit bottom, I don't know where you go. There's only one place is up, or stay at the
Always
bottom.
find a way to dig. I don't
That's
know.
what I'm thinking. Someone said if you dig for a well to find water and you don't find it, what do you got to do? You got to dig a digger till you get to the water. So yeah, I don't know where bottom is, but I know at least we can feel like we've hit bottom. And that can either make you look up to the Lord, to God, to something that's stronger than you, or you look out, or you keep digging down, but you're going in the wrong direction, right? You're just going deeper. I'm just saying, these are emotional things we deal with. And Peter's trying to tell them, they're going to be under persecution. A lot of these people are going to die for their faith. And yet he's saying, humble yourselves, cast your cares. Merimna. The word for anxiety is marimba. But you know what that really means? It means, yeah, that's the literal meaning of marimba. Now they don't say cast your distractions, they say cast your anxiety. You always try to find an English word that best understand. Ooh, I hit a nerve. Go ahead, what do you got?
I love the word cast.
Cast.
Because we tend to keep our anxieties very close to us. It's part of our inner being, it's part of our heart, our gut. And if we, if we're drop fishing, it's a line really close to us. But if we really want to get it far away, we cast it with our strength
I got it.
far away. And that's what he's saying to us. Cast it away from us. Cast it to God. He's got it.
Right? It's one word, but it's two words. The word in Greek is epiripto. Epi means upon, right? Upon. And ripto, thank you, Joel, means exactly what you said, Judy. So what is he really saying? That's what he meant. They use the word cast. So what you got to do, and I love what you're saying, and you can use a fishing pole if you need to, or you're a baseball that you can throw, and it's saying don't toss it, don't drop it, throw your anxiety because it wants to cling right back on you. So you gotta create a separation. And boy, it's easy to say and hard to do. You've got to realize that anxiety is coming from something. And the something is exactly what we said. You're not being humble, you're trying to resolve it with your own strength, and you're not able to. I'm not saying you can't resolve anything in your life. I'm not saying you can't deal with problems. You have problems you've resolved. I didn't have to go to the Lord for it. But there are problems you aren't going to be able to solve. And the deeper you try to solve them, you run out of resources. What do you think fear, fear, and we use that word fear, but he doesn't say cast your fears, but saying the anxiety. These are the nervousness that we have in life. And the marima there are distractions. Isn't that what anxiety is? They don't let you live your life. They don't let you sleep. They don't let you have a calmness. If you're in an argument with somebody, or something in a relationship, or something's happening at work, or there's a health thing, and now you know you're sick, but you can never be at peace because this thing is overwhelming me. And it's just saying that creates the worry. And we're not supposed to just be, oh, nothing bothers me. I'm not saying that. But what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it by carrying it? What are you resolving? We all know we're not doing anything, right? We're just carrying it because we feel maybe there's something we can do to resolve it. And amen. Do what you can do to resolve the problems in your life. If it's within your grasp and in your knowledge and do it. But when you don't, what are you going to do with it? Just, I'll worry more. What did that do? Worrying more didn't help you. Now it has become that. Jules got some comments.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's a control thing, like
control.
saying, like,
Control. Okay.
I work in substance abuse too, so we go through that. But
Okay.
it really is. I think anxiety and control kind of go hand in hand, and
Okay.
so you can't humble yourself when you're trying to have control over the situation. And I feel like a lot of ways you try to decrease your anxieties by trying to control things. So you're kind of doing the opposite. So to like relieve your anxiety and humble yourself, you have to give up control.
Right.
And for us, you give up control to God.
Correct. What you got?
So you asked the question, how can we live a worry-free life?
Yes.
Humility, right? I'm looking at.
Well, it's our first step. Yeah.
God resists the proud and give grace to the humble.
Okay.
Humility gives us peace. But if we continue to not be humble, then we have an opposition against us. And that is with God. God is basically resisting us, right? So we are actually pushing against the goals, like what Paul has said, because God is actually opposing us because of us not being humble. So there will never be any sort of peace to be found, right? Because he said God opposes the proud, but he now is going to give grace to the humble.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it from the standpoint that how can I get peace if I have God himself here opposing my haughtiness, right? And me not being humble, right? And until I humble myself, there's where that peace will come.
There's no room for God's
giving that
grace. Okay.
Because of God's grace coming into my life now.
So really you have two problems. You got the problem, which is creating your anxiety, and you've got God opposing you because you're trying to resolve it, and you know you've reached, now I'm just going to worry. And then God says, why do you worry? You ye of little faith.
Because grace is right there.
Yeah, why? You're going to choose. Okay, so what we say is, okay, I reach bottom. What I'll do is I'll worry more, and that'll help me resolve it. At least I feel like, as Jules said, I'm in somehow controlling this because I'm using up my energy, which is really only a distraction. It was just distracting me, but it's not making me better. Meanwhile, I got God on the same side saying, throw it to me, Tom. Not even just drop it. Throw it as best use your best arm or get the fish. It says, epiripto your anxieties. Get them, give them. Give them to whom? It says, cast them upon his mighty hand. And then, okay, so I gave it to him. Because he cares for you. So it's not as if you're just giving to somebody who can carry it. You're giving to somebody who can carry it and they care for you. And if you really can do that and practice that, the more you can do that, the more that worry will be separated from you. And when worry goes out, peace comes in. What do you got, Steve?
I was just interested in the definition of fast. And,
Cass, that was,
I looked something up, just for 30 seconds here. So these are supposedly synonyms and similar words.
oh yeah, okay, give them
So
to
we
us.
got radiate, release, emit, emanate, expel, shoot, send out, eliminate, issue, exhale, evolve, throw out, discharge, pour, give out, irradiate, vent, expire, evacuate, exude, erupt, ooze, excrete, secrete, jet, spray, eject, gush, spew, spout, squirt, spurt, outlet. Wow, and that is one important word, I guess, I don't know. So I think they went out of their way there, but I guess
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things you could
So,
say for that word,
Judy,
Well, anxiety can come in a lot of different ways, but the majority of it is our fears of the future.
yes, exactly
and,
right.
And catastrophic possibilities.
Correct.
And so one of the things, we are called to keep our eyes on Christ.
Okay,
Now, the distraction, what are you being distracted from? Is these thoughts, and truly, that's what it is, it's thoughts, get in the way of that eyesight. And so,
okay,
so we're pulled away to look at these things and what these catastrophic things could be, instead of saying, well, let me keep my eyes on Christ and what his strength, his love, and his hope,
okay,
and look at the not so hopeful. And so this is why he's saying this gets in the way between you and me,
right.
and I need you to be with me so I can give you grace, I can give you peace. You're gonna go through stuff. You are going to go through stuff. The only way
I don't
I
wanna
can
go
get
through
you
stuff.
through it is if you keep your eyes on me.
Right, it's the whole, right? And, what do you see? And they say, oh, I see the dot. That's right, because you keep looking at the dot. Meanwhile, you forget about all this around it. What does is it distracts us and it makes it the main point of every day that you get up. And until it gets resolved, we worry about it because it hasn't been resolved yet. But it cheats you from your everyday living and try to be productive and have to be. So I would say concentrate on that which is good and know that this is going on, but try to, if you're going to distract yourself with the good to get over.
About the word cast, right? There's a scripture that says
What?
lots are cast.
There's another one with Cass, anybody?
Lots are cast, but the answer comes
Oh.
the answer comes from the boss, right? Did it say that?
From the
that's
boss?
what happened. No.
That sounds like a
It
problem.
says the answer comes from the Lord. That is why it says
Oh, okay.
Because the reason is this: when we cast our lots, we think about the people that really do not control the outcome. The outcome of everything that happens in our life comes from the Lord. But in our minds, the answer comes from the man that is making that decision that I see, whether it's my boss, whether it's the manager, whoever it is. So when we are trying to say, I'm casting my cares on the Lord, or when we're casting those cares out there, sometimes the object of that decision is not what we're seeing. The object of that decision is actually the Lord. But the Bible says that lots are cast, but the answer comes from God. But when we cast our lots sometimes, or we throw our fears out there, we're looking at mankind for the answers. And that is where we're falling down a lot of the time.
My daughter has gone through some severe depression,
Okay,
such that there were times when I feared for her life,
okay,
which caused me quite a bit of anxiety. Now, understanding my daughter lives in Alabama, so we're not in close proximity. I can't help, I can pray. And there are times, that this anxiety would completely overwhelm me
yeah,
to the point, and forgive me if you see me in the car, on the road, and I'm crazy, know that one, I'm crying and I'm trying to cast it, and I'm literally screaming to have Satan get away from her. And for me, that's casting my care, because I know when I'm telling Satan to get away from her and from me, that I'm saying I want to trust in him and that he can handle it. And without fail, I find peace. A peace will
if you can separate
If I
yourself
can
from
separate
that,
myself from that, I
Exactly.
can find peace.
I agree.
And I can move forward. Whereas when you're overwhelmed, you stop, you're paralyzed. And it's a horrible place to be paralyzed. It's hell.
Sister.
I agree with Judy, Sister Judy, because I have two adult daughters. One is close to 50, the other one,
Okay.
the youngest is 30. College graduates, God forgive me their pains. But they would have me coming and going, jumping through hoops. I would be crying, I had so much anxiety. And they would use the children as the give back
Okay.
excuse
Oh,
when they
okay.
would get
Okay.
angry.
Sure.
And I go to an elder group and I go to two Bible studies. And because of me putting my faith in God and turning all of that over to God, I wouldn't have been able to even function because it was that bad. I was like down.
Yeah.
When
we
I
talked
say
about that.
down,
Yeah.
and Judy can contest to it, I was down. I would get on the group and I'm crying and oh, I don't know why my daughters are doing this.
Yeah.
And finally, after about 2, maybe 3 years, something just came over me. And it was like God was saying, you know, you need to straighten out, lady. Get it together. Turn that anxiety over to me. I turned that anxiety over to God. I said, Lord, take my daughters, please. Just get them out of my life for a while.
You gave them over to him. I understand.
turned my 2 daughters over
Right,
to
okay.
God. Now, it is just so totally different. If I don't call them, they call me.
Okay.
If they don't call me back, I don't worry back.
So you're saying I'm not responsible for their decisions. I'm not responsible for their feeling. You're right, and I'm just going to give you a thing. And I know if you're a young parent, as a parent, you want to take that from your children. You don't want your children to have to struggle. You don't want your children to hurt. You don't want them to have to go through. And you know they are. And then you try to jump in and resolve it for your daughters, and you're just trying to say, what can I do to take this from them? And you want it so bad. And there are things you can do, I'm sure. But there is a point where you say, this is what I can do. It's really not me to do. But no, don't do that. Yeah, but they're adults and they're making decisions that they're going to have to deal with the consequences of their decision. So what does the next verse say to do? Because he does give us something. He says, what does he tell us to do? He says we should do something in verse 8. He says, do 2 things. What is the first thing?
Be self-control.
Self-control.
Yeah.
Don't be out of control. Be control. Control the emotion, control the runaway. Again, I always say this. God, you didn't invent your tear ducts. God gave them to you for a reason. All right? We have feelings. God could have made us where we had no feelings. It never affected us. But that is not how he made us. So we understand we have feelings. But he's saying we need to be in control. One of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. So control. And then what? What else should we be? We should be in control, and then we should be what?
Alert.
We should be watchful, right? We should be, it's not as if we need to be aware of what's going on in our surroundings. But at the same time, we need to be self-controlled, not out of control. If you were ever in the military, things are going to happen around you. What they teach you is self-control. You don't overreact. You judge the moment, and you need to stay calm. Calm will allow you to think. Crazy doesn't allow you to think. Crazy just reacts. So he's saying, be calm and be alert. Why should we be alert? What does the verse keep saying? Be alert. Why?
Because your enemy's waiting there to get you.
Did you know you had an enemy? It doesn't say, it's not somebody's enemy. What enemy is it? Does it say the word your? It's your. It's your enemy. Yeah. You don't want any enemies. I don't want to go through life without enemies. You got one. You got one. And he's called Satan. And he's your enemy. And you need to be alert and self-controlled. You need to know that in this world, he's not in your corner. He is your adversary, right? What's an adversary? That word comes from the legal system. It means an opponent in the court. Somebody who you're going to court with. And they're not going there to bless you. They're going there to condemn you. They're going there to beat you. They're going there to say everything about you that you know you should be guilty of. And that's what he says. But he says, don't lose control. Humble yourselves. You can't carry it. Give it to somebody who can. Cast it as far as you can get it away from you. And stay in control. Be alert. Know there are things coming at you. You know Satan's not your friend. He's trying to take you down. He's the accuser, the adversary. That's exactly what he's trying to say. And he does something. What does he do? How does he do it? The devil prowls. We know that's like a lion, right? He prowls. That means he's persistent. It's not a one shot. He don't come at you once and leave you alone. It's going to be over and over. He's persistent. When you prowl, you hunt. You're the hunted, okay? Be alert. You're being hunted. This is what he's saying. He's saying, but you don't have to live your life thinking, Satan's under every rock. But he says, don't be oblivious to it either. Be alert. Be in control. Give it to God. Be humble. He's telling us a ton of stuff here if you ever want to take your time and learn it. And this is how worry can be taken from you, unless you want to carry it. But then that means pride. And okay, if pride wants to carry it, then carry it. But if you want to get rid of it, if you want to get rid of your anxiety, which will allow peace in your life, self-control, alert. No, you're not blind. You don't go through. You know things are happening. Do what you can do, and what you can't do, you have to just humble yourself. Lord, help. Give me the wisdom. Give me the power. Give me the help. Give me the favor. Give me whatever. I'm going to trust you in this. And this is kind of the life we live. He prowls around roaring. What is roaring? Why does a lion roar? What? It calls him not to a lion. He's a roaring lion. What's he trying to do?
Scare you.
He's trying to intimidate you. He's trying to intimidate you. He wants you to be in fear. If you live in fear, you're living in the dark. You're not living under God. I'm telling you right now. Fear is not from God. God isn't trying to give you, he's not trying to make you fearful. So when you know you're dealing with fear, take the breath, humble yourselves, be alert, self-control, don't lose it, don't get whacked out. Okay? Self-control, control what you can control, self-control. He didn't say no control, self-control. What you can't control, you cannot control. And know that everyone's not in your corner, Satan's there, and there's a bunch of other people that joined him. And you're going to have a fight on your hand, but as we say in the military, it's not a time to freak out. You stay calm, you know your orders, you trust the people around you. Hello, church, brothers and sisters, go in prayer, get in the Word, and you can't change the next minute of your life. You can only control what's in front of you at this moment. Now, I say all this because I've mastered it. No! I say it, but I need this reminder. And I have failed, and you have failed. You encourage me, I'll encourage you. I got a sister in the back. What do you got?
My mom is going to we have a date for my mom's surgery.
Okay.
It's on August 10th. She's going to do brain surgery.
Understood.
And I have these
Yeah. Waves comes in, you let it go, it comes, it's like a wave.
I tried to distract myself from it, but I'm just thinking
Any help?
it's a lot. And
It's a lot.
I'm fearful for her.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. You don't know the outcome.
Yes.
You don't know the future.
And I'm doing all this other stuff around that.
Right.
To get myself busy.
Okay.
Distract my mind
Okay.
from not being so
Okay.
anxious and
Okay.
worried about it. So please, just pray that
Yeah.
everything will go well with her surgery.
God loves her more than you do. Remember that. He loves her more than you do. And he wants what's best for you.
He does.
He's with them. He's with you.
It tells us because he cares. He cares for her. He cares for her. He cares for you. And the more you love someone, the more it hurts. I agree. I've probably had people pass away today that I don't know. It hasn't affected me at all. But if it was someone I loved and know, one of you, it would hurt me. So that's the other side of love, isn't it? You know what I mean? So We're with you, sister. Amen. And we'll see how it turns out. Can I say what I said in the morning? God knows all things. He already knows the ending. All right? And you're going to get the ending, and it may be a surprise. It may be beautiful news. It may not. I don't know. God is already there. God is already there. He's already seen it. Okay? So just, we're August 10th. Okay, it's coming. Unless the Lord comes back. August 10th. August 10th. Okay. Satan.